one of the biggest trades we've seen, not just like in the last year or two, but like last like decade plus. Mikko Rantanen and Taylor Hall end up in Carolina. Chicago only gets what, a fucking
third.
A third round pick?
The best though with that,
their own third round pick.
It's their own third round pick, but initially everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, this could be like genius because they're getting their own pick back, and maybe they've got some big offer sheet planned. Like it's for this year." Yeah. Offer sheets are after this draft. It's like you would need next year's. And like Friedman said it, and he's already come out and apologized and clarified, like, nope, I'm an idiot, whatever. But I wonder, like, it'd make me so happy, Z, if that's what the Blackhawks thought they were doing. They're like, we got to get our pick back. This is what makes it worth it. We're going to be able to do this and that. And they get it. And like, oh, wait. Shit.
Wait a minute. Fuck.
What was all that 1 in a million talk?
Yeah. I think, was it just, I literally, like, I had to read the trade 6 times, the full details, before I actually could, like, comprehend what was going on. Because I was like, there's no way Chicago is only getting their third round pick back. Right? And then like, nope, they are. That's all they're getting. But Mikko Rantanen to Carolina, best friend of Sebastian Aho. Jack Drury and Marty Necas head off to Colorado.
Talk to me about Drury. I don't know enough about like what his projection looks like.
Yeah, I mean, he's a fourth line, super physical, more defensive oriented, obviously. But he scores in his first game with Colorado. Necas puts up 2 assists. But Jack Drury is a fourth line, like just grinder again. Like he'll fight anybody, kills penalties. He has some offensive touch. He was a pretty good player in college, but a nice like fourth line player on like a team with cup aspirations. Like he was really good in the playoffs last year or 2 years ago. I can't remember, but he had a really good playoff. So like a complimentary piece for your fourth line, and plays that playoff style, like how Rod Brindamore likes his players to play like 1,000 miles an hour for 82 games, and then they try to keep doing it on the playoffs. Like Jack Drury, that's just like he's an energy guy, nonstop, super physical. But again, he's got some scoring touch. Scores in his first game with Colorado, and like a very funny win over the Rangers, a very funny regulation win, game 1. But Necas in that first game with Colorado looked fucking unbelievable. And I feel like I saw some people reacting to it like, that's all you get for Rantanen. And like, on one hand, part of me was like, yeah, I would have expected maybe like draft picks, prospects. But I feel like a lot of people haven't really, because I mean, Carolina is such a weird team where they're like really good. They've always, the past, however, since Brindamore's got there, they've been one of the better teams in the league in the regular season, anyways. Despite the fact that like their big names are like Sebastian Aho. Well, would you throw Teravainen in that conversation? Like Svechnikov?
No.
You're right, exactly. Like,
yeah.
But the last couple of years, Necas really took off. So we'll see now if he plays more center or if they're going to keep him on the wing in Colorado. Because I mean, Middlestat had been disappointing for them. They were hoping that he would turn into that second line center for them.
Sure.
And it hasn't really panned out. But Necas gives you flexibility there. He's lightning quick. He is ridiculously skilled. He's got a great shot, really good playmaker. He's like just dynamic offensively. And again, like watching that power play against the Rangers in game 1, like Necas fits right in. Not just their puck movement, but that power play is so fucking terrifying because it's just the puck moving. All 5 players are flying around. It is an absolute spin cycle. And there was one sequence where like I think Necas hit the crossbar and the post. McKinnon rung one off the bar. Shesterkin made 2 diving saves, like all in like a 35-second period. And I tweeted the clip out. I was like, oh my God, this is terrifying. But Necas gets 2 assists in that one. The second one was ridiculous. It was like a half spinorama backhand just sending into Makar. Just a ridiculous assist. So that's a really, really nice player. And he's not going to cost the same that Rantanen's going to cost. So we'll see what happens in Carolina. I have to pull up their like cap projections, but I think they should have space. But it's going to be a huge number, which is why obviously they make that trade, because it just sounds like whatever he's looking for. I mean, he was wanting Draisaitl money, I guess. And I guess, Colorado's probably just not in a position to do that when you've got McCarr making 9, McKinnon's making what he's making, and they've got a couple other guys that they're going to have to pay to here.
Yeah, their line in the sand from Friedman, at least, was we will not go past McKinnon. And he's like, that's unfortunate. I want that.
Right.
It was pretty shocking to me, though, like how surprised everyone was. Like McKinnon had no idea this was happening.
Rantanen said he was shocked.
So, like, I don't blame them for making the move. And I think the biggest reason that the return was what it was is because, like, Rantanen has not extended as part of the trade. So, like, I get it, but it is a big bummer for them to lose him for, again, solid pieces, but you didn't replace him. It's just like the Tkachuk trade where everyone thought that, Calgary fleeced Florida. Get the best player in the trade. You're usually going to be the one that comes out on top. And clearly that's what Carolina did. It's going to be interesting too, because, like, I wonder if Tulski's like, while you guys are playing in that weird Four Nations, I don't know why they called it that tournament, you can just, have a little chat with your buddy Mikko. Thanks, Sebastian.
Yeah.
Wrong Sebastian. Oops. You're not on my team. Other Sebastian.
Yeah. I'm trying to pull up. I think I said this a while ago. I'm still not used to Puckpedia's page versus Cap Friendly's. I'm just trying to pull up their cap space for next season, Carolina. Yeah. But I mean, it looks like they should have enough to give him big time money. But the other part that was crazy was that Chicago retains half of fucking Brandon's salary too. And again, all they get is they retain half. They lose Taylor Hall, and all they got was their own 3rd round pick back. Like, I don't know what listen, Taylor Hall's stock is obviously not the same as it was even like 2 years ago. Because last year in Boston, he actually was he put up decent numbers again. And he was good in the playoffs too. But I would have thought he could at least get you a 3rd without taking on another fucking $4.5 million in space, but is what it is. But my God, Mikko Rantanen is such a fucking good player, and he is going to fit right in. He already looked. I watched the first period of that game against the Islanders. Shout out Tony DeAngelo for scoring on his own net 5 minutes in, or less than 5 minutes in. I thought he was making a sacrifice to play in Russia so that Trump could win the election. I'm confused. I don't know what he's doing back here.
Trump already won.
I know. I thought like he was making that whatever.
It sounds like it worked, and he's back to rub it in our face.
It's unbelievable. It was like the day after. It's just like the next day he gets fucking signed. It's insane. But God, Rantanen's gonna fit in so well there. He is just, especially as I have to pull up Sveshnikov's numbers.
It's what they've needed, man, and it's crazy because he's such a perfect like hand to glove fit for that team. The bummer is because like if you're Colorado, you are definitely happy bringing in a guy like Necas. But God, it kind of sucks that it's like, oh wait, we got a guy that like Carolina was getting rid of anyways, right? Like he was not long for the Carolina Hurricanes. I don't know. It shouldn't impact how I view it, but it does.
Yeah, I also still think though, like, and part of this is just me being very high on Necas in the first place. But it is one of those things where I feel like, especially the last week or so, it was getting very public that like Colorado probably wasn't going to be able to make the money work for Rantanen, to the point where like probably most of the league was aware of this.
Yeah.
And at that point, if you can get a Marty Necas, who again, he's young, he gives you a possibility of like legit 2C, and he's putting up really good numbers. He's top 10, top 15 in league scoring this year again. And he's just a fucking awesome player. So, like, I think getting Necas, again, you're never going to get the same player. Like, Mikko Rantanen is the best player in this trade. It is what it is.
Right.
But Necas is a pretty good piece, especially in Colorado. Again, like, just watching that first game, he fit like a glove immediately. So I still think, like, yes, losing Rantanen's always going to be terrible. same time, Natchez is a pretty nice like consolation prize. And he's not going to cost the nearly what Rantanen's probably going to end up costing.
Question.
So it kind of not evens out, but right. I mean, it's a good piece to get back for a quote unquote distressed asset, I guess.
Well, especially when he didn't extend as part of the deal, like
right, yeah, exactly,
pretty okay. Yeah. So,
because that would color it too, right? Where it was like, no matter what the number was, like if you're a Colorado fan, you justifiably be like, we could have fucking made that work, no matter what. If it was like a sign and trade, right. Or like if he had signed immediately, or if a contract extension was part of the deal.
Which they can't.
Like,
let's be clear.
Right, obviously.
It's him or Makar, and you made the right choice picking Makar. Sorry, like that's just what it is. But Mikko Rantanen, where does he sit for you in the NHL at large? Is he top 5, top 10, top 20? Like, what tier of player is he?
I mean, he's probably at this point just looking at like his regular season production combined with he's got over 100 points in the playoffs, I think, already, which is ridiculous. I would put him in the top 10 category, I think. Like, I mean, was it 2 years ago? He had 50 and 50. Like, he is just a machine. And no, so, I know. I was having the same debate with myself earlier today. I was like, is he a top 10? I think he probably is. It's just, especially with the production, it's just ridiculous. And like, a lot of that does come like anytime you play with MacKinnon and you're like, I mean, I think Rantanen was like a top 8 pick, I want to say, in his draft. So like you're already like that level of player, but like playing with MacKinnon, you're obviously going to have a million fucking points. But like watch, like his passing ability is ridiculous. He's the size, he moves as well as he moves at his size. He's fucking physical. He's a prick to play against, like the stereotypical Finn, but a guy that's going to give you like 100 points year after year. Like, I don't think he only puts up 100 points because he's playing with MacKinnon. Like, he is just legit that good. And his shot is a fucking joke. And he gets it off. Like,
he plays a heavy game.
The release is insane. Yeah. And he plays a fucking heavy game. Like, so he is stereotypical Finn with 100-point upside.
Right. What stirred this, though, is that Elliot Friedman labeled him as a top 5 to top 10 guy. And I don't think there's a world where you can put him in your top 5. You can't. Like, let's workshop this like loosely, because I don't even think, like, if I'm actually going to go to the letter player by player, is he a top 10 type talent? Yes. I think top 15 I wouldn't bat an eye at, but top 10, it's just like you got McDavid, Draisaitl. I don't know. Am I allowed to say Matthews after the comments from Craig Button?
Yeah.
That's what an, like, and I know, like, he doesn't pull his punches. He's a very direct guy, and like Craig Button,
wild.
Shit. But that's such a knee-jerk reaction because this year he's having a tough year. Like last year, you would have said like, "Oh, like Draisaitl's nowhere near him." Like, come on, like especially when you look at what he does from a goal-scoring perspective, on top of what he can do as a two-way player. Like, get out of here with that.
Bananas.
No, if you want to say that Draisaitl's better, like, cool. I have no problem with that. But to say that they're in like completely separate tiers is just not.
Yeah.
It's like saying that Cale Makar is not a good defenseman because this year his numbers haven't been quite as good. Like Isha's trying to tell me that Quinn Hughes is a better player than Makar, which like this year, yes. If you told me I could have either of them on my team starting next year, I'm taking Makar every time. Are you?
Probably, yeah.
So we got McDavid, Draisaitl, Matthews, MacKinnon. Any disagreement so far? Okay. Kucherov's definitely better as a winger. I think there's a couple more centers we could throw in there. I think Cale Makar is a top 5 player in the league. Like there's just a lot of guys that, like, as a winger, he's a top 5 winger, but he's probably number 4 or 5, isn't he?
Just pulling it up.
Like, how do you compare Rantanen and Kaprizov? Is it roughly a tie, or who do you give the edge to?
I'd say it's pretty close. I mean, like, Rantanen's just got the track record so far, and I mean, like, his playoff numbers are ridiculous.
Well, it's hard to have playoff numbers when,
right,
you're in Minnesota.
Just pulling up his numbers again. Yeah, I mean, I'd say they're probably coming up. Probably leading like Rantanen right now, maybe. Yeah, oh my god, he's got 101 playoff points in 81 games. That's ridiculous.
That is pretty fun.
He's so good.
That is fun. Now, again, I think both arguments are true, right? Does some of that come from the guys that he was playing with? Yes. Can he absolutely do a lot of that by himself? Also, yes. But it'll be interesting to see, like, because it's not like a huge downgrade going to play with Sebastian Aho, right? But like, it's different. We'll see how he does.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess where I land is somewhere just to like hedge myself here. It's like 9 to 15.
Yeah. No, I have zero issue with that. I would agree with that.
I think it's also impossible to I've always found myself having tiers. You know what I mean? Where it's just totally. Like I probably have like 20 guys that I would say, yeah, they're in the top 10 conversation. Well, it's like, well, that math doesn't work. But like,
for sure.
It's just like, it's crazy how many fucking ridiculously good players there are every fucking year now.
Don't just look at counting stats. Which guy would you rather have? Mikko Rantanen or Pasta?
Yeah, probably Rantanen, I guess.
But it's a pretty close
though
discussion, right?
Especially the tear fucking Pasternak's on right now. It's insane.
Those two are actually much more similar than the rest.
Like Rantanen and Pasternak?
Yeah, like they don't play the exact same game, but they both give you the same type of upside with their goal scoring. They can both play a heavier game if they really need to. Like both of them can have the wires crossed and go psycho.
Yeah, I think Rantanen's always going to give you like significantly more of like that power forward element. And then I do think like Pasternak makes some ridiculous passes, but like Rantanen's is on a whole other level. Like some of the passes he makes are insane. He can do it forehand, backhand, like ridiculous vision. And like Pasternak gives you more of like, I mean, he's just got the fucking bomb from deep, and he flies up and down the ice.
Yeah, but him and Marchand don't like each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so isn't that just too bad? Wouldn't it be so great if they were friends?
Dude, I got a beer I'm drinking right now that'll make you go cross-eyed.
Oh boy.
Called Monkey Bar, and it's an imperial pastry stout with banana, chocolate, peanut butter, and marshmallow.
Oh my god.
It is. There's a lot going on, but I'm not lying. Prize. This is pretty tasty. I can't do more than one, but it is tasty and probably pretty strong. What do we got here? Oh, it's only 11%.
That's it.
Not in the top 10. So
that's outside.
But so Kaprizov then, like it sounds like you're pretty much putting him and Rantanen more or less neck and neck. Does Rantanen's contract have a pretty heavy bearing on where Kaprizov ends up? Like, do you think that they end up in a similar spot? Do you think Kaprizov is going to get more because of just what Leopold's already come out and said?
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, pretty much Kaprizov has a blank check waiting for him. And he's going to be able to, like, put his own number down. They'll say, yes, thank you very much.
Do you think that that's how they should do it, though? And not just because, like, he's earned it, right? But, like, hey, dude, we will give you as much as you think you need. Literally write your number. Just know, like, we can't make magic happen. If you take 20% of our cap, there's going to be other areas that we're going to have to trim to make it work. So literally pick your number. We'll make the rest work. Just know that the number you're picking, we're going to point back at that if you're like, well, I don't have a better line mate.
Literally.
Sorry.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, and like, it's interesting because like Kaprizov is so fucking competitive, and like he wears like that guy fucking like every pro athlete hates to lose, but like Kaprizov, it doesn't matter what the score is. He wants to be out there like fucking 3 minutes every shift, and like clearly wants to win. Like, so I do think if the Wild were like, hey, we'll give you what you want, just know that if you want fucking 20% of the cap, like that will change pretty much most of this roster.
Yeah.
And like, not just now, but for those 8 fucking years that you signed that. I do think he is aware. Like, I think he's very happy in Minnesota, obviously. He's been ridiculous since he's got here.
Happy.
I do think
he's happy. I don't know about very happy.
Yeah, I haven't asked him. But like, I do think he knows.
If you ask him while he's at Billy Sushi, he'll say very happy.
Yeah. I do think he won't. He's gonna like. Obviously, he's gonna get every like penny he deserves. I still think he's very aware of. If they're like, hey, we'll just keep Zuccarello, we'll keep him around. We'll keep. So he can be 50 and playing if you're still here. Well, if part of that, if you want to take your cap hit down a little bit below the fucking 20%, we'll just let him have a roster spot forever as long as you're here.
Yeah,
I do think he strikes me as one of those players that will want, obviously, like a very good lineup around him. So I do think I think that's probably the right approach with him, especially just given the fact that like he clearly wants to fucking win.
Dude, that would be the highest viewed video in YouTube history if they just did a stream where it's like, here it is. We are handing the check to Kaprizov and he is going to fill in the number. Tune in.
You do know, like, there's a part of Billy that's like, that would be funny. Could be funny, guys. Could be funny. Leopold's like, Jesus fucking Christ. Okay. I don't care. I've watched that clip of asking. I know the private jet clip is one of my favorite. Like,
there's more that we'll get into here in a minute, but yes, private jet clip is a good one. But
hey, can I borrow the jet? Yeah. What a ridiculous.
You can have it. You can have it. I've got 5 more. Like
which one? Yeah, I don't give a fuck. Yeah, you keep it.
Real quick from a couple of people here chiming in. Horodox, the Rantanen trade makes me think, which Wild player could we trade out in a huge trade in the future? That's interesting. Cole says, no shot Colorado is done with trades yet, right? I tend to agree. There is no way they're done because now they have more cap space, unless Landeskog comes back, which is honestly better than a trade, assuming he's actually fully healthy. Do you agree?
I mean, assuming he's fully healthy, sure, but like, that's literally impossible.
that's not doable. Fair. Flyer Voracek, Bowen Byram, and Mikko Rantanen turned into Casey Middlestat, Martin Necas, Jack Drury, a second and a fourth. That hurts a little bit more, put into perspective.
So that's what I was actually looking at. Oh God, what was I reading earlier? But I went through and I looked at like Bowen Byram's numbers this year, like not just like the counting stats, because I mean I don't really, it's just tough to gauge anything that's going on in Buffalo, obviously. But Bowen Byram in Buffalo has been real fucking good this year. Like his underlying numbers are absurd for a guy playing big minutes in Buffalo. Like very, very impressive.
And he's probably not going to stay there, right?
He's already like they've already asked me. He's like, I don't know. I remember the quote was like, I'd like to play somewhere I could be like a number 1 defenseman. And like, there was like 7,000 people were like, me too. Yes. I would also like to be a number 1 defenseman somewhere. And it was just like really funny. There were so many people on the same page reading the quote. I was like, that's so funny.
The best though would be just people like Chicago Blackhawks account going on and commenting like, we hear you.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That'd be really, really good.
Well, part of me watching that fucking Wild Blackhawks. First of course, the second I talk shit, the Wild decide to forget how to play hockey in the third period.
That wasn't good.
That Blackhawks team is unbelievable. That's one of the worst hockey teams I have ever seen in my life. And then I threw up in my mouth a little bit because I was thinking about them potentially getting the first overall pick, taking Matthew Schaefer and having a fucking top pair of Lev Shudov and Schaefer for 20 years, and I wanted to die. It was ridiculous. It was a very, very dark thought, and I had to like lay down. I was like, please do not let this happen to this friend. Like, please don't let them don't let this happen. Please, for the love of God. Like, we weren't in enough pain, but like Bedard he was losing his shit 5 minutes into the first period.
He was trying to fight Bogosian.
Well, then Bogosian just decided to abandon play and just like, I'm gonna fucking murder Donato. And just started. They were like, he was tackling him 15 feet away from the puck, as it was going in Minnesota's net. And I still think Bogosian found out they scored like 3 minutes later. Like he was not aware
like,
wait, it was a goal.
When did they score?
He was like, what the fuck? The ice cream.
That was straight up like Hines goes up to him. He's like, I want you to do your best Klingsberg impression.
He literally stopped.
I have to find another planet. Got it.
He stopped paying attention at the red line. Like it was an incredible ISO cam. Like the play is going 1,000 miles an hour that way, and he's just like trying to baseball swing Donato on the head. And it's like, dude, what are you doing? There have been a couple of Bogosian plays recently. Bogosian and Merrill have had some incredible fucking ISO cams recently. And like, I don't even get mad because it's so funny. But anyways, that's not what we were talking about.
Okay. Maybe
but last year, I remember when the Middlestat and when that trade happened, like Middlestat came in, was pretty good in Colorado, put up some points right away.
It was
and Byram was a big struggle, right?
Like they didn't need Byram on defense, and they absolutely were desperate for a center.
Yeah, it was like, in theory, potentially Middlestat's going to fill that 2C role. He was like trending the right direction. This year, it's obviously not gone as well whatsoever. But like it looked like it was like this trade will either be like close to a tie, but even like Byram and Buffalo feels redundant when you have Power, Dolly in there already. But this year, it's like Buffalo, it's gone the other way. The
definition of Buffalo is redundancy. Everyone in their prospect pool is a redundancy.
It is crazy. Yeah. Like, and now they're talking about trading Power, Cousins, and it's like, Jesus Christ. It's bananas there right now. That Cousins potential trade could be, I wonder how many teams are like, oh, Dylan Cousins potentially available? What are we talking about right now?
Also, how many contract negotiations did he absolutely ruin for the next 2 years?
I know.
I mean, look at what that guy's doing. Last piece here as we transition off of the holistic Rantanen talk. If we get through this summer and an extension hasn't been agreed to by Kaprizov, and that Guerin just has no choice, has to make a trade because you can't risk losing him and you want to get, max value, would getting a similar return to what Rantanen just got be completely unacceptable? Or is that like what Wild fans need to brace themselves for should a trade come to pass? And this is assuming that he's not signing an extension as part of it, right? Kind of same scenario as Rantanen. Like he's willing to take the trade, but he's not going to extend.
Right.
Like, how mad are Wild fans? No, not how mad are Wild fans. How mad should they be if we're talking a similar return?
Well, it's tough. It's tough to really, like, when you say like Wild fans being mad. I mean, at this point, it's been made quite clear that like whatever Kaprizov wants to make, he's like gonna get. So like,
if he wants to be here,
right? And so at that point, it's like, okay, well then that like hard to fucking get mad at like the front office.
And less about being mad at the front office,
the return,
mad at like, oh God, this is what we got. Like, really? We got rid of a franchise changing player and this is our return. Like, yeah, less. I mean, they'll find a way to blame Guerin and Leopold, of course. But I do think, like you said, a lot of fans will be able to see through the bullshit and be like, they literally opened the checkbook for him. He said, no, fuck him, Yeah. And I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just preparing us for the possibility.
Yeah, and it's still tough because, like, again, as I said earlier, I'm a big time Marty Necas fan, and also like
big enough that you like this deal.
Well, I would say again, like it became very apparent in the last like week or so that Rantanen was not going to get the money that he wanted in Colorado. So it was like, I mean, if you're going to get Marty Necas, who's going to cost significantly less and fill that fucking big hole that you have clearly needed since losing Kadri at 2C, it's not like, again, losing Rantanen sucks no matter what the deal is, unless you're getting like fucking Connor McDavid back. Like, that's always going to suck. And it's the same idea with Kaprizov, where it's like, you're losing probably the best player that's ever played in Minnesota. I was going to say probably, like, as if it's a fucking debate.
Hey, Brock Faber.
Sorry, Victor Rask. Shout out Victor Rask episode.
Shout out Victor Rask.
Also Carolina Hurricane legend. But no matter what that trade looks like, you're gonna be pissed because like you lose Kirill Kaprizov, who is the best player to ever put on a Minnesota Wild sweater. So that sucks no matter what. And I like, regardless what the return is, like you're gonna get mad at it. So I would, if the return is similar to like a Nature's Drury, I would have probably wanted more draft picks. At the same time, I don't really know how many more draft picks they need in the first place. So I don't know. I guess it would be like I would want a top prospect at the very least, plus like.
Give me an example of a prospect that would qualify as a top prospect. Like, I don't care what team. Or give me an example of a Wild prospect that would meet that mold, just to like give me a sense of what tier you're talking.
Oh, like a Urov tier, like a top 5 prospect in some other prospect pool.
Okay.
And like
Urov's like top 2 or 3, right? For us, wouldn't you say? I mean, we're gonna do a full prospect rundown later in the episode, but I guess that's teasing ahead.
Yeah, or like I'm trying to think outside of Minnesota too. You get your Zach Benson, Ricky.
Don't you fucking tease me, you bastard. Oh, I would take either of them so fast.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's
you literally picked 2 of my favorites. Oh, Axel Sandin, Pelika, here we go.
Yeah, I don't know. It's either way, I think it would. Kirill Kaprizov is best Wild player of all time already. And like, what if, like, let's say that you have to move him, like it's just not good, that like he's not going to re-sign, like no matter what the trade is, unless you're getting another top 5 player in the league, you're gonna be fucking pissed. Like it sucks either way. But again, like it's always just tough to gauge like this return because I'm a big Marty Nature's fan. It very much fills a hole, or it fills that like role that Colorado needed to, and he's going to cost significantly less. And the 18 minutes I've seen so far has me thinking that they may have won the fucking trade. But I don't know. Yeah, it's always tough to gauge though.
Yeah, good point from Ron here. Any trade compensation would be more than they got for Gabrick.
Yeah, that's a good
man.
point.
Ouch.
That hurt.
Ouch. That's reopening the wounds.